For decades, larger yachts promise safety through sheer size and luxury, but statistics reveal a different story. Small, unassuming sailboats routinely survive passages that claim much larger vessels. Industry experts now trace this resilience not to comfort or cost, but to the brute mathematics of load paths and simplicity. If strength at sea isn't about more steel or horsepower, what does it truly look like? And why are large yachts failing the test as conditions worsen? Step onto the deck of almost any marina, and a pattern quickly appears. Buyers gravitate toward larger yachts, drawn by the promise of security, comfort, and power. Sales brochures highlight thick hulls, deep keels, and expansive living spaces as badges of safety. Displacement is presented as a shield against the ocean's unpredictability. Amenities such as generators, water makers, and climate control are described not just as luxuries, but as evidence that nothing has been spared to protect those aboard. The underlying message is clear: more steel, more volume, more systems must mean more strength. This belief is reinforced by the way these boats dominate harbors and headlines. Magazine covers showcase gleaming multi-million-dollar yachts riding high above the chop, while smaller sailboats slip by almost unnoticed. Charter companies and brokers point to length overall as a shorthand for capability, implying that bigger hulls are inherently more seaworthy, more stable, more forgiving in a blow. Insurance rates, marina fees, and regulatory requirements often scale with size, feeding the sense that large yachts are in a different class altogether, less vulnerable and more prepared for the unknown. All of this builds a potent perception of safety. Yet that confidence carries a hidden risk. By equating scale with invulnerability, the industry encourages a mindset where complexity and bulk are mistaken for true resilience. The idea that a boat can be made safe simply by adding mass or multiplying systems has become deeply rooted, shaping both the market and the expectations of those who step aboard. The question remains, does this perception reflect what actually happens at sea, or is it a carefully constructed illusion? Strength at sea is often misunderstood. Naval architects look beyond thickness or weight, and instead trace how forces move through a hull, a mast, or a keel. When a wave strikes or a gust fills the sails, the energy follows a path, down the rig, through the deck, into the hull structure, and finally out to the water. The simpler and shorter these paths are, the less chance there is for hidden weaknesses. On a small sailboat, every load travels a direct route. The mast is shorter, the rigging sits closer together, and the hull flexes as a single unified shell. Fewer parts mean fewer joints, and fewer places where fatigue can start. A naval architect might explain it this way. As a boat grows longer, its volume and its weight increase much faster than its length. Double the length, and the weight grows roughly 8 times. The forces on rigging, on chain plates, and on keels multiply, not just add up. Yet metal fasteners, fiberglass layup, and design rules often change little between a 30-foot boat and a 60-foot boat. That mismatch means large yachts must spread enormous loads across more complex structures, using webs, knees, and hidden reinforcements. Each connection becomes a potential point of fatigue. In practice, the true test of strength is not how much a boat can take in a single blow, but how it endures thousands of cycles, wave after wave, gust after gust, without a hidden crack growing into a failure. Simplicity, direct load paths, and fatigue resistance become the real currency of survival at sea. This technical lens reveals why the quiet, unassuming small boat so often outlasts its grander neighbors. A marine surveyor kneels beside a winch, fingers tracing the bolts that hold it to the deck. On a small sailboat, almost every critical part is within arm's reach. Chain plates, shrouds, and even the keel bolts can be inspected without crawling through tight, hidden spaces. The owner can check for corrosion, feel for movement, and hear the creak of stressed hardware, all in an afternoon. This kind of hands-on familiarity means problems rarely go unnoticed for long. On a larger yacht, the story changes. The mainsail on a Sundeer 60 demands nearly twice the physical effort to trim as the mainsail on a C&C 35, 93% more work when measured by the force and time needed to manage the sail. Even the jib, often considered the easier sail, requires 44% more labor on the bigger boat. Every maneuver, from reefing to tacking, asks more from the crew. As the boat grows, so does the fatigue. Inspection becomes a chore, not a habit. Hardware is buried behind cabinetry or beneath the floor. Hatches and panels multiply, but access does not improve. Deferred checks become common. Tired hands skip a bolt or leave a hairline crack for next time. The physical scale of the yacht turns routine vigilance into a logistical challenge. On small boats, the margin for neglect is narrow, but the workload is light enough that most owners keep up. On big yachts, the margin for error widens, not because the boat is safer, but because the sheer effort of staying ahead wears people down. When a sailboat grows from 35 to 70 feet, the change is more than just a doubling of length. A typical 35-foot cruiser might weigh 12,000 to 15,000 pounds. Stretch that hull to 70 foot, and the weight jumps to 90,000 or even 120,000 pounds. This is not a simple scale-up. Volume and displacement rise by the cube of the length, so every extra foot brings a surge in mass, and with it, a rise in the forces every system must handle. A naval architect would point to the numbers. The chain plates, mast base, and keel bolts on a 70-foot yacht must absorb loads 5 to 10 times greater than those on a 35-foot boat. The steel may look the same, but the stress it endures is far higher. When a gust hits or a wave slams the bow, the energy travels through longer, more complicated paths, from rig to deck, from deck to hull, from hull to keel. Each connection becomes a pressure point. If a single bolt or weld gives way, the force does not just stop, it seeks the next weakest link. One failure can trigger another, setting off a cascade that is hard to arrest. Bigger boats also carry deeper keels, sometimes 8 feet or more, limiting where they can seek shelter. In heavy weather, a small boat can duck behind a shoal or slip into a shallow cove. A deep draft yacht is forced to ride it out in open water, exposed to every wave. Inertia becomes an invisible adversary. The heavier the boat, the slower it responds to helm or sail changes. When something goes wrong, the window for correction shrinks. On paper, more mass promises strength. In practice, it can magnify risk, turning minor problems into major failures. Annual upkeep on a 50-foot yacht often surpasses $60,000, and for 80-foot yachts can reach $300,000 or more. The industry's unwritten rule suggests budgeting 10% of a boat's value each year just to keep it seaworthy. For small sailboats under 35 feet, that figure drops below $25,000, sometimes far less when owners handle repairs themselves. As the bills climb, so does the temptation to delay work, postponing a haul-out, stretching out engine service, or ignoring a slow leak. Large yachts need professional yards for even routine maintenance, and yard slots can be booked months in advance. Crew salaries, dockage, and insurance pile on top. When costs cross a certain threshold, often around 10 to 15% of the vessel's value, owners begin to defer critical work. The result is a slow drift toward vulnerability. Minor issues stack up, inspections slip, and the margin for safe operation narrows with each season. In May 2014, the 40-foot yacht Cheeki Rafiki lost its keel in the North Atlantic. The official investigation found fatigue cracks in the keel bolts, a failure hidden from routine view but catastrophic when it let go. Surveyors traced the sequence: years of compounded stress, corrosion, and missed inspections, each a small oversight that added up. In the 1979 Fastnet race official records show that larger yachts faced a higher rate of dismastings and abandonments, while smaller boats, though battered, were more likely to finish intact. Insurance data quietly sets the abandonment threshold around 60% of a vessel's value. Big yachts, with higher repair costs, are written off more often. Yet boats like Suhaili, 32 feet, have circled the globe and returned decades later. Their endurance is measured not in market value, but in how simply and thoroughly they were built and maintained. Today, thousands of modest sailboats quietly cross oceans, while luxury yachts often falter in port. Simplicity is not nostalgia. Simplicity is a survival strategy backed by physics and statistics. As technology races ahead, endurance still favors the boat that asks less of its crew, its materials, and the sea. What endures, endures simply.